Hello, my name is Rebecca Husselby and I am the Assistant Foreign Editor here at The Sun. Over the last 2 years, over 19,000 children have been deported into Russia from Ukraine, and today I'm going to be speaking to a man who is deeply involved in a project to bring those children home.
My role is unusual role of NHRI, National Institution of Human Rights. Traditionally, NHRI has the mandate to control the activities of government, self-local governments. But on this wartime, I decided to do everything for not only record of violations against our children by the rights of our children by Russian side, but to do some concrete. For example, we establish several initiatives how we can support the projects of returning Ukrainian children back from Russian side or from temporarily occupied territories of Ukraine. For example, I have communication with my vis-a-vis in Russian side through partners, and on this way, additionally, we can return Ukrainian children. But the challenge is that we have a lot of information, but we have no mechanism how we can verify this information and how we can confirm this information from Russian side and from temporarily occupied territories of Ukraine. For example, I know that on this territory that's now under occupation by Russian side lived before occupation 1.5 million of Ukrainian children. Potentially, all of them under threat to be deported by Russian side. When we use number 19,546 Ukrainian children that were deported or forcibly transferred by Russian side, it means that we found information about these children without any support from Russian side and without any support from international organizations and without any support even from our direct partners. It means that we know how we do it, but this is the main challenge. So potentially, no one knows how many Ukrainian children deported by Russians. No one. We know that Russia started this procedure from 2014.
And so what scenarios are we seeing when these children are taken by Russian occupiers? Are we seeing them taken off the street? Are they younger or older? Have they been separated from their families?
About scenarios, I think that's the main idea for Russians to deport Ukrainian children is at first to change their identity of Ukrainian children, to change it from Ukrainian children to make them Russians. The second, to grow up a new generation of Russian army, and then in future to use these children in continuing of aggression against Ukraine, or even to start another aggression against another European or any countries. For this idea, Russians, I think, planned the special plan. It's like a official position of Russian Federation as a state, and we collected a lot of details and recorded that at first children must be some period in special camps. Children have to be in these camps from 2 weeks. Sometimes it's 2 weeks, sometimes it's 2 months. But anyway, the first step is camps. Then next, after camps, Ukrainian children must go to Russian families. Next step, Ukrainian documents. If Ukrainian children have the Ukrainian documents, for example, certificates of birthday or even passports, Russians take away these documents and give Russians documents to Ukrainian children. And we see that often Russians change the information in this document, change the names, surnames, date of birthday, place of birthday, etc., etc. Look, for example, my name in Ukrainian language is Dmytro. The same name in Russian language is Dmitry. And when Ukraine, for example, I had this experience, and I had example that we had information about deported Ukrainian small boy Dmytro, and when we, through the partner, asked Russians, we know that this boy named Dmytro, he lived in this place, in this family. You must return Dmytro to Ukraine. You know the answer? The answer was that we don't have any Dmytro in Ukrainian side. And when we additionally asked about Dmitry, they asked that it's another boy. Can you confirm that this is boy from Ukraine? You know that the situation, cynic situation, that Ukraine must confirm that this is in Russian side Ukrainian children, and we must do a lot of our efforts, prepare a lot of documents, try to use all our channels for confirming that these children from Ukraine, that in Ukraine we have children have their families, relatives, and you Russians must return these children.
And just to go back to the camps that you mentioned earlier, what is actually going on inside these camps?
Yeah, we see that in camps, children all the time under pressure by Russians. For example, they in these camps, it's like a special places for changing identification. The first that must do Ukrainian children in these camps is to use only Russian language. The second, to call themselves like a Russian children. The next, children must every morning sing anthem of Russian Federation. The next, children must be members of Russian military youth organizations. Children must even wear the military uniform, you know, every day to spend a lot of time for like military training with guns, with weapons, etc., etc. So this is the first step, as I said, for changing identity.
Are you seeing forms of torture or abuse?
Sometimes we, after returning, children told us about the torture, even the special, like a place for children who don't want, for example, to use Russian language. We even found the information that's for so-called Russians called these children like a heavy children who don't want to recognize the Russian occupation, to use Russian language, to change the documents, etc., etc. Russians even created special camps for these Ukrainian children, and in these camps, children told us that it was like a special, like a room, like a torture chamber for children. That if you don't want, for example, sing the anthem of Russian Federation, the Russians catch you to hold you in this room without light, without food, without even photo, for 1 day, even more. And next day, Russians again ask, do you change your mind or not? Are you ready to sing the Russian songs or Russian anthem or not? If not, okay, you can stay longer in this room. So yes, I recorded that Russians even used torture against children, and even more when Ukrainian army liberated Kherson. You know, I visited Kherson 2 days after it, and I saw a big torture chamber for civilian people, and I talked with 14-year-old boy, his name Vitaly, and he told me about the torture and about the violations that he saw and that he felt on that period on this torture chamber. And only one reason why Vitaly is still alive is that Ukrainian army quickly liberates Kherson. If not, nobody knows, but we have a lot of information that after similar torture chambers, relatives cannot find any information about civilians, including children.
And just to go back on that second point that you made on the children that go into these camps and then into these Russian families, do we know what's happening to them when they're placed in these Russian families?
The main reason for Russian families to adopt, foster Ukrainian children is money from state budget of Russia. Russian families every month earns special donations. I cannot call it like salaries, but it's like bonus benefit for Russian families. That's why we see a lot of Russian families who adopted or foster Ukrainian children. Additional threat, yes, we collect that in Russian families it's continue to press Ukrainian children for changing identification. Against children have to use Russian language, and in Russian families, Ukrainian children must recognize themselves as a Russian. And if you are young, the time plays against us. For example, can we imagine that can remember, for example, 1-year-old Ukrainian boy about his Ukrainian roots? I think no.
But for older children that do remember their Ukrainian roots, when they're placed in these families and they find it hard to adjust, have we seen any cases of children being abandoned by Russian families?
Yeah, the same. But with teenagers, it's hardest for Russians to do everything, and child can easily forget about Ukraine, about Ukrainian families.
And are we seeing any of these children making or attempting to make their own way back to Ukraine?
Yeah, a lot.
So how does the process of returning these children work from start to finish?
We have several initiatives, all of them like elements of Bring Kids Backyard. A task force, we have international coalition of countries for returning Ukrainian children. We have main mediator between Ukraine and Russia for discussion and returning Ukrainian children. This mediator is Qatar. Main task force is preparing official position for returning, for confirmation that this is the Ukrainian children, and we appreciate position of a lot of experts from different countries who support us and who spend a lot of their free time to be with us, to discuss our problems, and to support our willing to return all Ukrainian children.
And how much do we think Putin himself is involved in the deportation of children?
For 100%. I don't believe that he didn't know about this procedure. Even more, I think that he confirmed this plan for deportation, for changing of identity, for preparing all these stages for deportation. That is why we appreciate position of a prosecutor Han, prosecutor of International Criminal Court, for prepared two arrest warrants against Putin and his commissioner for child's rights of Russian Federation. So I think that, as I said, he is the main person who is responsible for this procedure.